to get by. We're placing the pieces, we're playing the game. Watch as it ceases, looking back at what we became. No one is special, we're all just the same. Taking before we receive. The future we're making is in the fabric we weave. Don't let no one tell you what you should believe. There's a limit to what you can achieve. There's a line in the sand that you cannot cross to quench your desire. Don't be fooled by your dream. There's no way that you will get any higher. You'll get fired, so it's better to extinguish your fire. And whoever tells you to go follow
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of The Peel. We took a week off. We're back, and I don't see us stopping for the near future. I mean, the season starts, 3 weeks from now?
Around there.
Yeah. God, it's here fast. I remember closing out last season, and we're just like, damn, we got a long time till the season starts. And now it's 3 weeks away.
Didn't I say that it was gonna be here before we knew it?
It's every year it's like this. We're like, God, we you sit all winter waiting, and then before you know it, it's the end of February, and it's MLS. We got a decent show for you guys. I shouldn't say decent. That already makes the show sound unfulfilling right there.
Wow.
We got a good show.
The lack of
faith. We got a good show lined up for you guys. I know. We've got Dynamo preseason getting ready to kick off. Is it tomorrow? No, Wednesday, Saturday. Starting Saturday. Yeah. Kicks off Saturday. I mean, technically, you could say it kicked off this weekend. Donovan went down to the Valley. Edson will have more on that. We've got some Ricardo Clark news, which is really cool. We've got some other Dynamo stuff that we didn't cover because it didn't come out until after our last show. U.S. Women's National Team, some trades that had happened for the Dash since the last show. And then after that, we've got some MLS CBA stuff, which I do want to hammer on a little bit because I think it's really good. We'll have Edson do his Down the Valley Minute, and then some other MLS news, and that will close it up for today. But before we get really too deep into it, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Go ahead and give us a like on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the Peel05. We also do have tips available down below on the video, and I also put them on the description for the podcast as well. The tips help out with ads on Facebook, on Twitter, and we are working on merchandise. Should have that together by the end of next week. Nothing crazy. I'm not doing like a bunch of shirts or anything like that, but we got some small stuff we'd love to give away to you guys. Baby steps, yes. Also, I hear that this guy named Edson who does Down the Valley might have some stickers to throw your way at some point too. Gotta rep Edson.
Yeah.
Gotta rep the Valley.
Yeah. So that's coming in. I know Jorge, if I recall correctly, he got a Down in the Valley sticker this weekend. He was there in Edinburgh for the preseason game.
Badass.
So, and a couple of other fans got some stickers as well. So it was good to kind of talk with fans, not only for RGV but also Dynamo. But we'll get more into detail about that game later on.
As you also may notice, it is a Josh Justin and Edson version.
It's a Josh Free edition of the Peel.
Unfortunately, yes. Josh has been working his balls off, and that is an understatement, honestly, for his job. He's been working a ton, and his schedule sucks. I feel bad for the guy. Because trust me, he'd rather be here talking to you guys about the
Believe me.
Dynamo. Yeah, I mean, and I'll say it for him, and he says it all the time. I mean, the team's branded on his arm. I'm pretty sure he'd rather be talking about the Dynamo than working right now. But if Josh gets home in time, I'm pretty sure he'll tune in. If not, this will be a Josh free edition. So Edson, how was your weekend? I heard it was pretty fulfilling. I'll go ahead and let you lead off into our first topic.
Sure. So this past weekend I went down to the Rio Grande Valley, and pretty much to visit family and also for the game. I got there a little early. I got there around 5. The game didn't start till like a little bit after 7, but I hung out with the Stampede, the supporters group for the RGVFC Toros. With their tailgate, talked to a couple of fans, about the Toros, what they felt like going forward so far, how the team has been performing in the past couple of years. Actually met Ron Patel in person as well, the new RGVFC president. Talked with him for a couple of minutes. He's genuinely interested in making this team the Valley's team. For any one of you who follows RGVFC's accounts on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, they've been very meticulous in stating that fact that this is the Valley's team, and I like that movement that they're trying to make. We've talked about it on the Down the Valley show. About the identity. This team needs to get the RGV's identity and not just any other cookie cutter club. And I think with the identity being improved, I feel like more people are going to be going into the stadium. I mean, I think he's got some really good ideas. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he comes from New Mexico United. It's a place that constantly fills Isotopes Park, over there in New Mexico. So, and most of the reason why it happens is because he had some sort of influence in making the right calls to appeal to the fans in New Mexico. So I feel like if he's allowed to work like he wants to, I feel like we might see the rising of the RGVFC fan base like it should be. So big shout out obviously to Jorge, big shout out to Jeffrey who's just tuning in.
Yes.
So and Jorge, thank you so much for that 5-star rating.
5 stars.
We really appreciate it. But continuing on, I do also want to give a shout out to every one of the Dynamo fans that went down to the Rio Grande Valley to support the Dynamo. There was a lot of El Batallón members. Like I said before, Jorge was there. There's a lot of Batallón members. And one of the things that I do want to give a huge shout out for, and I know I said this on Twitter, like I know I've criticized them a lot. I've criticized them a lot in previous shows, whether here or with Gen Orange. But when it comes time to actually, just like I criticize them, I also have to say kudos to El Batallón for embracing and bringing RGV Stampede under their wing, going out to them, joining them, and and supporting the both teams that were on the field as one big family. And I think that is something that this organization needs. Tab Ramos. Hold on, real quick. I just want to drive this point through.
You're good.
Tab Ramos, Coach Echeverry have lately in their conferences, in their interviews, they've driven home the fact that this needs to be one big giant family. And the Tab and Coach Echeverry and the academy, Paul Holliker, they're doing their job on the pitch. and it came time that it needs to be also off the pitch, and this movement by the supporters groups between both teams, I think it's a signal that there is something that can be saved out of this relationship, but it has to be, both sides have to pull together. I think it's time that both organizations stop pulling against each other and push together towards a common theme. And also, yes, go ahead.
Do you think, real quick about that with the common theme, do you think this is more of a product of Tab coming in with this team and being how he likes to promote the academy and the youth, and RGV being a big part of that? I
don't think it has anything to do with Tab Ramos, as far as, like, I don't know if you're talking specifically about supporters groups or just a general.
No. I mean RGV and
yes, I do.
The Dynamo working together.
I do think that this is a Tab, putting his foot down and saying, hey, you know what? They're as big as a part of as an organization as is the academy, as is Brazos Valley, and as is the first team. And I feel like the way he's talked to reporters and mentioned RGV, and I feel like he's giving Gerson Echeverry the reins, to handle the team like it should be. Obviously, the Dynamo will probably help with some players, but in contrast with previous years, the biggest thing that Gerson Echeverry talked about was winning games. That it's going to take a higher priority this year to win games. Because last couple of years it was like, oh, we're here to develop players for the first team. No. This year they're talking about winning games, being competitive. Tab Ramos mentioned that as well about RGV. That it's time that the Toros needed to be competitive as well, because at the end, if the Toros are competitive, if the Toros are winning a championship, it just proves that they're a lot closer to making the leap into MLS than in previous years. Because I've said it before, and no diss to the players or anything like that, but the general idea is, if certain players or a roster cannot be competitive in the second division, what makes you think that those individual players that you do pull up are going to be competitive in MLS? You know? So
I hold that thought, because I did want to bounce off that. But yeah, Jorge said Stampede bought us drinks as well. Props to them. Badass. Welcome to the show, Sly. But this has been our thought process all along. I mean, us with you and Josh, is if the Dynamo focus or add focus to Brazos Valley, to the academy, to RGVFC, that if you're helping those players grow too, it's only going to help your senior squad long term. Yes. It may not help Brazos Valley. Those kids might not make it for another 5-6 years. But if you're pumping talent into them from the academy, and you're pumping talent, whether it's from the draft or players that are with the first team but probably aren't getting minutes, but sending them to RGV because they have potential, it helps all the way around. It really does. And then your end result should be championships for the Dynamo. In return, championships for RGV and Brazos Valley. Hell, Brazos Valley went deep into the I always forget the second name. Edson, help me. The league Brazos Valley's in.
USL League 2.
League 2. I mean, they tore it up last year. They fell short, 2 games from the final?
Yes.
Or something like that? Because so obviously the Dynamo know there's talent in their system, So they need to just farm that the right way, if that makes sense. Yeah,
and I feel like Tab Ramos may be the man for that job. But just that mentality change in the way they're viewing RGV as far as the competitiveness. I think it's a start to a better RGV, and I also think it might be a start for a better Dynamo. But at the end of the day, Tab Ramos can say all he wants, but if Matt Jordan doesn't help him with the raw material necessary, with him or with Tab or with Gerson Echeverry, helping him out with the raw material necessary to be competitive, then what good is it gonna do?
Jorge says taking in some orange juice thanks to the peel. It's solid. Let me ask you. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. Who, by the way, I did see Matt Jordan, and he came over and said hi to me and Jacob.
Nice. And welcome, Tyrell. Thanks for tuning in. Where was I going with that? It just crossed my mind real quick. Do you think either club would be open to the idea? And I know logistically it'd probably be hard, but to do one joint training session a month. I mean, I know it's hard during the season with scheduling, but I think the idea would be smart. Do it early in the week after a game, just so both organizations are on the same page.
That might be a good question to ask Gerson Echeverry himself. I know they are going. I know that RGV will continue. I think they've got one more week where they're coming back to Houston and training here, if I recall correctly, being mentioned that. Now, as far as that idea that during the season having that, I mean, the logistics might be a little bit hard, but
What about during like international breaks? That'd be the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, MLS follows international breaks. USL doesn't.
True.
USL does not. There's still games being played during international breaks.
Yeah. So Edson, you were down there. You did see the game or the match. Now it was a 5-0 victory. Obviously, scoreline doesn't really matter. But it is here. Dynamo did win 5-0 over RGVFC, which Edson, this isn't a shot at RGV, but it is also to be expected because this would be a completely different podcast if RGVFC beat the Dynamo, say even 4-2. This would be a completely different podcast.
First of all,
what the hell is going on?
First of all, if that would have happened, everybody would have said, "Please turn off the Xbox." or my PC, actually my PC, because that's the only one that allows
here we
mods.
go.
So hashtag PC Master Race. Just real quickly, how's it going, Harry? And by the way, condolences after that news by Christian Pirano being out for surgery, for knee surgery. You never want to see, even if it's the rival team, you never want to see a player having to go through that. But kudos to San Antonio for actually being transparent about it, unlike the Dynamo with Aldo Quintanilla. But that's none of my business.
I think Harry is trying to flood our chat with San Antonio FC spam. So Edson, you might want to get on that.
No, he's welcome. He's a podcast friend, so he's always welcome.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm just giving a hard time.
All right. So your question was, the game, right? So
yes,
I will say this though. The first 45 minutes, which was the first 30 minutes, and then half of the second period, RGV played with, I guess you can say, a mixture of an A and B team. And the reason I say this is because we had a couple of A-teamers from RGV. Isidro, Andrew Samuels, who else? We had like 3 or 4 players that were actually suited up with the Dynamo. So we had, and then we had a couple of trialists on there as well. And the first period held the Dynamo, even with all of their starters, to a 1-0 loss, right? Second period, so the first goal was scored by Tomás Martinez. In the second period, it was Mauro Manotas who scored the second goal. around because it was like the 17th minute of the second period. But it was one of those goals where it was a cross by you. If I tell you who assisted, you would not believe me. Minor Figueroa. Minor Figueroa assisted Mauro Manotas in that goal from the wing. It was a bad clearance by the RGVFC. No, it wasn't a clearance. Like I think the trialist tried to pass it back to Castellanos, but he gave it instead to Minor Figueroa, and he just crossed it, and Mauro Manotas slid in for the goal. And so then RGV started making all these changes, started putting out a lot more trialists, and in the third period, it was scoreless pretty much. But in the fourth period, when RGVFC started putting in all the academy players into the game, that's where that's where the Dynamo, scored the 3 goals, 2 of them by Michael Salazar, and the last one was a
former RGV.
Yes. And the last one was a penalty kick by Tommy Mack, who, by the way, was close to being saved by the keeper. So yeah. But other than that, I'm actually
Harry. Hold on, real quick, bro. Harry, I am definitely going to bring that up at the end. The whole FC Frisco debacle with the Mexican national team.
Yeah.
Players. I am definitely bringing that up. He brought it up in the chat.
So yeah, and I agree with Jorge. He says RGV had a couple of good chances against the Dynamo, but Marco a wall back there. But you look at the actual stats at RGV, and I think most of them, and not all of them, were in the first period when we had the starters. We only had 3 shots on goal, and Dynamo had 22.
So I do want to ask about a couple players real
Sure.
quick. How did Marco look in those first 2 periods?
He looked like a leader. He was very vocal. He did seem like
hadn't really been around.
He did seem very confident. A little bit too confident. It was almost like watching Nahuel Guzman, but with a Dynamo kit. It's one of those outgoing players that tends to be a little bit more, takes a lot of risks, like coming out. But I think he looked good. He looked good out there. I think he just needs to continue to work on the chemistry with his back line, and I think he should be decent. Like I said, we haven't had a vocal keeper since who? Pat Onstead or me?
Well, I mean, Joe Willis was vocal-ish, but only when the team was getting beat. It was when you really saw it come out.
Yeah.
How is Michael Nelson? Because he's a guy I've had my eye on since he's been drafted. How did he look in the fourth?
See, really, with Michael Nelson, he really didn't have a lot of opportunities, to showcase himself. I mean, there weren't opportunities on his goal. So it really wasn't a parameter to say, Michael Nelson's did well, because he wasn't really put to the test. I feel like if he had been played with RGV instead, I think we would have had a better idea on what to expect from Michael Nelson. But what I have seen from RGV last season, like I've said before, Michael Nelson is good with reactions. He still needs to work on his positioning, especially from shots from outside the box.
Before we close up the game against RGV, I do ask, and if the Dynamo end up listening to this podcast, which they have before, please, next year, I mean, this is the annual thing you guys do, please just put it on YouTube. Stream this game on YouTube. Please. I beg you. Gives me something to watch. I did have a lot of people ask if this game was going to be streamed, and sadly it's not. I'm not sure if it's USL rules or it's just the Dynamo saying no, don't stream this game. But we weren't allowed to, not even with our cameras or anything. So now I do have to ask. There were rumors coming out that Elise picked up an injury. Is that true?
So Tab Ramos, after the game, he told the players, any kind of discomfort might as well just come out. Don't risk it. We don't we're not in a position to risk the well-being of the players, just for a preseason match. This early in preseason, especially when you got the Tucson tournament coming up. What happened on that play was that he was going to get past Rob Coronado, and Rob Coronado in an attempt to stop him, he kind of got his hands on his shoulder and kind of pulled him a little, and I guess that movement kind of like made him step a little wronger or something, and he came out. Hopefully it's not a serious injury or anything like that. But the way Tab Ramos mentioned is like this is just a precautionary measure. Make sure you have your best players when we need it, especially for the opening game.
Yes. Now with that being done, the Dynamo are going to be coming back to Houston Tuesday for a little bit more training before they go and head out to Tucson for the 2020 Visit Tucson Sun Cup.
Yes.
We're on Saturday, February 15th. They will be taking on the New York Red Bulls at 6:30. I don't know if that's our time or West Coast time, or are they still in our time zone?
No, I think they're in Mountain Time in Tucson.
Yeah, that's right.
So they were an hour before.
But as far as I know, those games are also going to be streamed. I don't remember where. They have been streamed in the past. I want to say it's probably through their website.
I think they've had it. The Dynamo would have it on their website, but basically it was just embedded.
Yeah, it's either there or I think it's either on FC Tucson's website. I think sometimes too. But then again, I don't. Well, let me see if this brings it up. Hold on. Excuse me. Come on. Trying to see if it has a streaming. It doesn't say that it is being streamed as of yet, but it's been streamed in the past. Yes. So, there is that. They will. Oh, why did I close it out? I closed it out. There is a second game there. Yeah, I accidentally clicked X.
It happens.
But they will be playing. They will be playing 2 matches out there before returning back here. Let's see. Other Dynamo news. Big news. Ricardo Clark, longtime Dynamo. He will sign a 1-day contract and will return to Houston this Wednesday to retire as a member of the Houston Dynamo. Good for him. I mean, really didn't make too much of an impact in Columbus when he moved there last season, but good for him. He's come back here. He's retiring as a Dynamo, and I know it's going to make a lot of fans.
Yeah, I think it was something that people were mentioning when the move to Columbus was announced, that that Ricardo Clark deserved to retire with the Houston Dynamo and not move on to somewhere else. And I think in that aspect,
and that somewhere else real quick, in case you haven't noticed, or maybe you've seen him around, he's already jumped into his next job, and he is a coach currently with the Dynamo Academy.
So he's back in the fold, and I think it's well deserved. It's a well deserved position for him, and the fact that he's given an opportunity to retire with the club. That him being, you mentioned that he was one of the last of the right. He was one of the last of that.
Yeah. He really was. Matter of fact, I think he's the last of the playoff era Dynamo.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's no other ones out there.
Yeah. So I think it's a well-deserved hurrah for him, and I applaud the decision by the Dynamo to do that to do that for Rico.
A couple other things. We got a little bit more Dynamo news before we run through some other quick things. Dynamo Theory did put out an article, and it is a good read about could DeAndre Hopkins possibly become a Dynamo /Dash owner. I would like to see more Houston public figures get in with the team. Maybe this opens up more spending by the club if more investment money pulls in too. Ultimately, that falls on Gabriel Brenner. But there is the idea out there. I will post the article to the podcast description and the description of this when it re-uploads onto YouTube to the article. That's by our friends over at Dynamo Theory. Dustin Richardson posted it. So it's a good read. Good what if scenario. And I'd like to see it. I mean, that's more money into the club.
I thought the way it worked was, I mean, some that shares would have to be sacrificed by some of the other owners in order to bring in another ownership or another owner into the fold, like we did with James Harden.
Correct. I mean, it would. Some of the other investors would have to divest their shares in order to move shares to another shareholder. Yeah. Wow, it actually makes it sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't. I just watch a lot of Shark Tank.
Hey, even with that, you're still a better businessman than Donald Trump. I'm just kidding, guys. We're not gonna get political.
Are you trying? Are you trying to kill whatever following we have?
It's a joke, guys. Don't take it too hard.
Welcome, Sergio. I'm trying to see if I forgot anybody. We got chats on fire tonight. Keep it up, guys. Let's see. Some of the other things that we did miss. The Dynamo and Dash have also paired for a all-around. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess I could say branding / tagline hashtag for the season. The hashtag for the season is going to be Hold It Down H-Town. Hold It Down for H-Town. I don't know exactly what the hashtag is. I had it up.
Yeah, it's Hold It Down. H-Town, Hold It Down.
Okay. But it is something that they are doing with the Dash this year. And I'm excited about it. I like the fact that they are working hand in hand to accomplish something.
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned before, it seemed like a lot of times it felt like the Dash was an afterthought to the organization when it came to like the promotions and stuff like that. And I think, if I recall correctly from what I saw somewhere, I think season ticket holders get a couple of free. Dynamo season ticket holders get a couple of free tickets to Dash games. I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if anybody has to correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I read somewhere, and I think that kind of helps a lot. Try to get Dynamo fans to understand or see that the Dash at the end, it's part of the organization, and the women that play for the team need the Dynamo fans support as well, because at the end of the day, both teams are out there representing Houston.
And with that, they are also going to have apparently a pair of murals featuring the Hold It Down tagline by Jesus Martinez and Annette Ronen on the north wall of BBVA. So I will be excited to see that. Ronan's artwork will be prominently featured on the massive wall space across the street from Minute Maid Park on Texas Street in Hamilton. So that'd be really cool. I look forward to seeing that. I love street art. Hold down for H.
So couple of Dash news. I don't know if that's where you wanted to go for.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So a couple of Dash news so far. Man, I can't talk today or any other day. So the latest one is there was a trade that happened the last couple of days ago. To be exact, an exact week
February
ago.
3rd.
Yes, exact week ago. So the Houston Dash acquired forward Shea Groom, defender Megan Oyster, and a conditional second-round pick in the 2022 NWSL college draft. But in order to do so, the Dash traded Amber Brooks and Sofia Huerta to Reign FC. I know a lot of fans are pretty sad about that. Honestly, if I want to be honest, I'm very sad about Amber. Not as much about Sofia. Not as much about Sofia. I think there was a lot of hype about Sophia. I was really hyped about Sophia, and it just during the season, like she didn't perform as well as I thought she was going to perform with the Houston Dash. So I honestly do think that the Dash are doing, the necessary moves to fix some of the issues that they've been having, like for example specifically last season, which is the season that James Clarkson got an opportunity to see what he had, what he needed, for what kind of players to fit into his system, and what needed to be changed. And I think this is what we're seeing with these offseason moves. We're seeing James Clarkson address these issues, and hopefully all these moves translate into the Dash's first playoff appearance in NWSL. And I saw you nodding your head in disgust right now when I mentioned that Amber and Sophia were leaving.
I mean, it's more the same. I feel that the Dash have done a lot of this lately, and I don't know. I feel bad for the fans. I don't know what to make of these two new players. They're starting to trade away the ones that mattered to the fans.
I will say this though, a lot of Reign fans are extremely sad that these two players are leaving. So it must mean something that they're being brought in. Now, like I said, I feel like these movements are a plus rather than a menace. Now, also in other news, you've had Bianca Henninger announcing her retirement back in the end of January. Because of that, they brought in another goalkeeper, Amanda Dennis, as well. Another acquisition by the Dash is defender Megan Crossan, and as well as defender Erin Simon, Lindsay Agnew, and Jasmine Jackman were waived as well. So I mean, the Dash have been busy. Oh, and they brought in Megan Kelly, midfielder Megan Kelly, as well. So the Dash have been busy this offseason, bringing in the necessary pieces into the fold. Now I wish I had as much knowledge in women's soccer than I know other people that I talk to that do. Big shout out to Jake. But for me, looking at these movements, I feel like this is building up for something better for the Dash, and I think it's well deserved.
I hope so. Real quick, to jump back to the Dynamo real quick, because I meant to bring this up. I know Edson's going to be happy. Not really. But,
boy.
It was also announced that the Houston Dynamo will take on, Cruz Azul, March 27th at BBVA. Tickets start at $25. If you're a season ticket holder, I think they give you that in your ticket package. So it is kind of cool. I do like the atmosphere when they are playing a Liga MX team. So I'm actually excited to see that. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Again, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight as well. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel. Follow us on all our social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at the Peel05. When we post the link up for the podcast, definitely give that a share, give it a like, get more people following. I try to whore us out as much as I can. That's probably a really bad word to use.
Wow, demonetized.
I put us everywhere. I put us on Reddit. I put us on a couple other groups on Facebook. I try to get us out there as much as I can. In case you weren't aware, there was also some other stuff going down at BBVA. There was also games other places. The CONCACAF Women's Olympic qualifying went on. Of course, the U.S. won. What do you expect? They beat Canada in the final 3-0. Prior to that, they trounced Mexico. Edson. They destroyed Mexico. Edson 4-0. They also beat Costa Rica 6-0. That was Friday, February 3rd. I was actually at the game. Was that January 31st against Panama 8-0?
Yeah.
That was an amazing crowd. It was the second highest
It was
crowd.
like what,
for
14,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and it was exciting, and there was electric there down at the stadium. But it's the second highest CONCACAF Olympic qualifying attendance in history. So props to Houston for showing up.
It's funny because I was there for the in the mix zone for that game, and Tobin Heath made a comment that she was surprised that people showed up that Friday after the attendance on that past Tuesday.
I mean, does she not know Houston though? I mean, people aren't gonna come out if it's below 75 degrees, and they're not gonna come out in Houston if it's raining.
And it's the weekday.
I'm sorry, fans at me. Go ahead. I call it like I see it.
Yeah, and there's video proof. I do have video of that Tobin Heath interview. Also, Ashlyn Harris kind of mentioned, fans show up or they don't show up, we still got to do our job,
Hey, Jorge, look, we understand. Actually, no, Jorge, you can't say anything. The U.S. beating Mexico 4-0. Yes, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, but Mexico's not also all that great right now either. Again,
no. I think he mentioned. Hold on. Oh no, I see. I want to say like when I see his comment, I want to think like, oh wait, maybe he's saying like the fans, aren't going to not show up with the U.S. men's national team. What happened when they played Costa Rica at Dignity Health Stadium? Yeah, the fans aren't showing up for the men's either, and I dare to say they show up more. They're gonna show up more for the women. No. And I will say this. It means something when the U.S. men's national team has to use BBVA Stadium instead of NRG Stadium like the Mexican national team, because they can't pull in the numbers in their own home country. That is sad.
You're not wrong, but to be fair, you do have a bigger Mexican national team following here in Houston.
Are those excuses? Those excuses I'm hearing?
No,
are those excuses I'm hearing?
It's not excuses. It's
someone
not excuses.
Someone called the ambulance.
When the U.S. played Argentina in Copa America, it was primarily probably Mexican fans. They're going to watch Messi. They weren't there to cheer on the U.S. Let's be real. I mean, at this point, who would want to cheer for the U.S. with all this shit show going on? I barely want to cheer for the U.S., okay?
I think at this point, most of the USWNT fans are just there for Pulisic, to cheer on Pulisic.
Well, and it's funny, I celebrated the fact that Greg Berhalter's brother just stepped down from USSF. It is probably the biggest news to come out of U.S. soccer, other than the women winning the World Cup, in the last 5 years. Because with that being said, now his brother could possibly be held accountable.
It's about time.
And if his brother keeps shitting the bed, hopefully he's let go. And quite honestly, and you're gonna hear this here first, I don't want us making the next World Cup. I don't want it to happen.
With Berhalter.
Then U.S. soccer, because then U.S. soccer will justify their current ways and think that it should be the norm when it's not. Rant over. This is not a U.S. soccer edition.
I will say this though, or my question is, do you think that the fact that they fired Jay Berhalter means that somebody in the higher ups
stepped down? He didn't necessarily get fired.
But do you think he got pressure from higher up because of Greg Berhalter's performance with the U.S. men's national team?
No, because nepotism runs rampant inside of U.S. soccer.
I mean, I don't. But the thing is, I don't understand. I can't think of any reason why Jay Berhalter would want to step down from that position. If he knew that his position was secure, regardless of Greg Berhalter's performance, why would he step down from U.S. soccer?
The only other reason, and we've seen it within U.S. soccer lately, with the prime example of being Tab, I think there's enough going on within the organization to where people are also trying to jump ship. I mean, they've lost 2 or 3 youth national team coaches.
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's all that going on, and I just think that people are jumping ship, and maybe his brother realizes that, oh shit, maybe it's time for me to go,
Well,
and maybe he also has an offer somewhere else. That could also be something. I mean, look, Tab had an offer, and I think he probably jumped at the first offer he got to get out of U.S. soccer.
so Tyrell brings up a good thing. He says people brought up the Glassdoor reviews as a big part of the change. Yeah, because we're hearing there was the reviews of U.S. soccer and Glassdoor were like extremely horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a garbage organization to work for.
So
A garbage federation.
yeah. So Harry asks, I do have a theory on the USMNT. They play no one that brings fans. With no more friendlies against Europe and such, people are tired of playing CONCACAF.
Yeah, I mean, and you could throw Costa Rica in there because Costa Rica normally gives us a decent match every time we play them. Short of playing Mexico, that's it. Those are your only sellouts is Mexico. And now I backtrack a little bit because Canada is slowly increasing their talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the last time we played Canada, the last two times we played Canada, it's actually been two decent matches.
And if Alphonso Davies gets more recognition in Europe, I think they're going to start looking more towards Canadian youngsters to import.
And the going back to us only playing CONCACAF, I think the way FIFA is pushing this new Nations League within the other federations is a deterrent to the growth of soccer in other regions of the world. I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that too because I understand their part of it was we'll get these minnow teams to start playing these bigger teams within their federation, and that will help grow in these smaller clubs or smaller teams. So when we're playing like I don't know, give me a small team in CONCACAF.
Haiti.
Yeah, us playing a Haiti, it helps Haiti out more than it helps us.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it holds us back. But I get where FIFA's coming from. But for growth of a big club or a big team like the US, you have to go out and play the Englands, the Germanys, the Frances, the Netherlands. Like you have to play them on a regular basis in order to stay relevant and increase your skill set.
Yeah, and I think
us playing Haiti is not going to help us.
And it's one of the things that was echoed going back with the women's Olympic qualifiers. It was mentioned by the Panamanian coach. It was mentioned by the Costa Rican coach. Also the the Haitian coach. That playing against teams like the U.S. in these official tournaments helps them see where they're at, and it helps them grow. And the more they play against these tougher teams, the more they're going to grow. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of funding from the federations, which some of these teams don't have. Looking at you, Panama. But going up against the Christian Presses, the Rose Lavelles, obviously Megan Rapinos of CONCACAF, it helps them grow, get them more experience. But like you mentioned, what about your US's? Going back to the men's, the US's, the Mexicos, where the only way to get better is if you raise your standards or you raise your level of play. It's like in FIFA. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna put this in FIFA. Let's say you just play FIFA in amateur mode. Yes, you're winning like 12-0 or like 20-0, but are you really getting better at the game? You're not. If you want to get better, you gotta put yourself in a situation where you don't have it easy, where you're going to find yourself. And I was talking to Riley James during the CONCACAF stuff with the women's. I mentioned to him, like, the thing about it is, yes, the new coach, I think it's pronounced Vlaco, for the women's, yes, he's getting the results, but we can't say he's good because he hasn't put in a situation where he is either a player down or they're down on in the scoreline. How is he going to react? They're winning. They've been winning 6-0, 4-0. They've been winning by huge margins. So they're not being pushed 100%.
And it's still not really his team.
Yeah.
I mean, he took over Joe Ellis's team, who is a stacked team. I mean, it's the team that just came off a World Cup victory. Nobody's left that roster. So is it still really his team? I mean, it's like saying Mike McCarthy, who was the coach for Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Was it ever really his team? He took over a Paul Holmgren team that was stacked. Mm-hmm. That's why he won a title so early in his tenure there. What happened after players started to leave? Yeah, they make the playoffs, but they weren't winning titles.
Yeah.
So, now, a couple of our listeners brought up a couple good points. Besides Sly, who said, "Good Lord, y'all need to look at the glass review for the Dynamo."
Oh,
that's great. Harry said, "To me, you almost need to combine CONCACAF and CONMEBOL for the Nations League to make it work here in the Americas," which I would be for that. But let me throw this question out here then. Does the U.S. beat an Argentina?
No.
Does the U.S. beat a Colombia?
No.
Do they beat a Brazil?
Hell no.
We could maybe beat a Peru on a Peru bad day, because Peru has been up and coming.
Now he brings up a good point, because there's been all this talk in Mexican press, like, should Mexico leave CONCACAF and go to CONMEBOL, because yes, we might not make it to a couple of World Cups, but it will help our level of play get better. We can't get good when we're playing, St. Kitts and Nevis, or all these smaller teams, instead of pushing us against the Argentinas, against the Brazils, against the Paraguays, the Uruguays.
I'm gonna throw a really dumb question out there. Well, not really, because I'd like the exercise. Who right now is CONMEBOL's Panama? Because Panama is always that team that gives Mexico and the U.S. a run for their money, one game every 2 years, right? Where it's a lot closer than what it really should be. Who would be that in South America?
Oof.
Would it be Peru?
It'd be Peru, yes. But it'd be Peru, but you know what's helped Peru a lot? The exportation of their Peruvian players. I mean, now you've got Reed Diaz with Seattle, and you got a lot of other Peruvians playing in Liga MX as well, and also in other South America, like the Argentina League and stuff like that. So that exportation of players has helped raise Peru's level up. So going back with
good point. Sorrel says Chile.
Yeah. But Chile has been. But I wouldn't say that they're a surprise or a dark horse. Ecuador is a good one too. I think Ecuador would be closer to the point you were trying to make. But Chile has always been They have their golden generation with the Edu Vargases, the Arturo Vidals, Alexis Sanchez. Right, he's Chilean, right? They had that golden generation, but now they're starting to get older, and they're kind of struggling to find the new generation of players to take over those players. But yes, going to your question, I think Ecuador might be closer to what you're trying to say than Peru. But going back to the chat, Harry says they don't have a chance today, but it's all about improving teams, not just the island teams. He says, plus for CONMEBOL, it would be a huge moneymaker bringing in Mexico and sure. U.S. But CONCACAF, CONCACAF is like, no, you have to take your alternative squad, your B squad, to Copa America. You have to put your A squad in Gold Cup. So that doesn't help either. They would have to be completely independent of CONCACAF.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would still like to see the Gold Cup continue, and then the Copa America continue, and then your Nations League is both of them combined.
I think that'd be a good idea too.
Because I do like the Gold Cup, but I do think at this point they need to rotate where the Gold Cup's at too. Yes, I love watching Gold Cup games here in the U.S. I love going to them. I've been to a number of them now. But I would like to see it in Canada. I would like to see it in Mexico. I'd like to see it in Panama. Yeah, granted, you'd probably only be able to play in like two stadiums in Panama. But the fact that you'd be able to have that experience down there, would be really
I don't
cool.
know, man. You're
Um,
you're talking about countries that are a little bit more unstable than the U.S. If anything, maybe Mexico or but like you can't. There was uproar that I think it was the under 17 CONCACAF qualifiers or something like that, or an under 17 tournament was being held in San Pedro Sula, Honduras.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid point. I guess I see it from the glass half
yeah.
full side of things. Like maybe they could be showcased, and maybe it will help things for a short time there with that spotlight. But that's just me being a liberal.
Yeah.
um,
The other benefit for this is that the U.S. will be going to away places that have good facilities. He's talking about going to South America.
yeah.
So, all right. So, what's the next topic you do want to bring up?
Real quick, we'll talk about the CBA. We'll touch base on this really quick. So MLS and the Players Association have agreed to a new CBA that will go through 2024. So that I am excited about. If you look at it, the available spending on each roster is going up from 9 million this year to 11 million in 2024. Um, the general allocation money will go from 1.5 to 3 mil. Salary budget will go from 4 million or 4.9 million all the way up to 6.4 million in 2024. Now, granted, that's not a lot when you go and look at it compared to, excuse me, Europe, but the players walked away from this CBA negotiations total winners. Um, there's so many things that they're getting compared to what they weren't. Which I will actually share this to the Peel's Twitter page. Key features, I'll just run through these real quick. $1.9 billion plus in new investment deals for the league. Expanded free agent eligibility, 24 years of age and 5 years of service. Increased mandatory charter flights. There's 55 million in performance-based bonuses available. 55% increase in senior minimum salaries. With the free agency with the 24 years old and at least 5 years of service, more than doubles the eligible players eligible for free agency, eliminates players' exclusions, removes salary restrictions up to max salary budget charge. No cap on number of free agents a team can sign. The veteran minimum was $24,000 in 2014. By 2024, there will be $109,000 for the minimum salary for a veteran. Let's see. Does anyone know if the Dynamo used other charter flights last few years? I don't think they did. I remember seeing an article a while back, and I probably could not find it now, but there was something like the Dynamo have not, which sucks because you have that. By 2024, if I do the math right, I think that's almost every road game will have a chartered flight, which is huge. It sucks for us because we can't get on a plane and sit next to, I don't know, we can't sit next to Memo. But
Pay the man. Pay the man.
yes, I agree. Increase in unrestricted money. That's huge.
401k.
Some of the other cool things. Yeah, so I did not know this. MLS also has 401k contributions, which kind of makes sense because they're a public company. Increase per diem for travel. They also have an increased moving stipend and benefits. So I want to think that's within the league. Say a player gets traded from the Dynamo to LA, they will pay for that move. Yeah. There's also benefit extensions for veteran players. But the players made out. They got the really good end of this deal.
Also, all player contracts are guaranteed in second year, and continued investment in youth development and youth player spots. I think that's also a big thing in the CBA.
He said, Tyrell says, I think the new one states 8 flights a year now, max and minimum, all CCL and playoffs too, which that's kind of a big deal. To get a charter flight, that means you're to and from. You don't have to wait for anything extra. You are on the plane and just you guys. Yeah. So that's big for CCL too. You might have a team that has to go down to Honduras, and now you're a chartered flight. So that's big for CCL. Um, let's see. There's also MLS is also considering changing the DP rule. Uh, Instead of a third DP being under 23 years old, it's really any age now. But it's still up in the air. But they are considering making changes to the DP rule, probably to help out the LA Galaxy like they always do. But
Yeah,
it
well,
is what
you
it
know.
is.
Well, I mean, it's
Uh,
not like it matters for the Dynamo. They still haven't used their third DP.
Jorge said, I don't know if it was the Dynamo's bus, but when I went to RGV, I think I saw a coach bus USA parked outside of Motel 6 near Toro Stadium. The Dynamo players at a Motel 6.
No, I don't think it's no. I don't think it's them. I don't think it was them because
Yeah.
they stay. All visiting teams, including the USL stay at a really nice hotel at the Convention Center district. Trust me, because my parents live like 3 minutes away from there.
One last thing before we close this out. I did want to bring it up. We're running a little bit over, but that's fine. Um, let's see. The
Doug Fallis.
finally, what is that?
Doug Fallis.
No.
Oh,
um, no. The cool thing, finally, and we were talking about, is this a coincidence with other teams in the league? NYCFC may finally, 7 years after the fact, be getting their own stadium. It's going to be right up the block from Yankee Stadium. Apparently, with the hotels, the restaurants, and everything else they're planning around this whole thing, they're talking $1 billion project surrounding NYCFC. It's all going to come from private money. It's not going to come from the taxpayers, which I think was one of the biggest points that was holding up this stadium. But it is something cool, and I think it is a coincidence that this came out right around the same time that MLS is threatening Nashville if they can't get their stadium deal in the works and approved, that they could possibly lose their franchise a year or two after becoming a franchise.
but it's interesting how they had so much patience with NYCFC, and they're like, no, you have until March 31st.
Well,
to
I think
Nashville.
I think MLS is trying to right their wrongs. And I think they also got screwed over by NYCFC too, because I'm pretty sure in the talks of getting NYC a team, it was, okay, well, where's your stadium? Do you have plans? And they probably told them, yeah, we have plans. And that's probably as far as that went. But I am excited to see it because it is New York City. It's the biggest city in the country. It needs to be the best stadium in MLS. And could you imagine that? You could get but the only thing that's a drawback is it's only a 25,000 seat stadium. But it would be really cool to see like a friendly between like a Bayern or another
Man
EPL
City.
team played
Man City.
in New York City. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's
know?
the same ownership.
But in New York City,
yeah.
how cool would that be? And the way MLS stadiums have been lately, I can only imagine how pretty that stadium's going to be.
Have you?
And I'm throwing back to LAFCs. I'm throwing to Minnesota United Stadium. You know, all these beautiful stadiums. Austin when they get theirs. But yeah, it's. Go ahead.
No, I was because I'm seeing in the chat that they're talking about Nashville. So basically, what happens? Sly, you're right. So Nashville mayor's giving Nashville a hard time. The mayor is stepping back from what was already agreed upon, the stadium deal from the previous administration. Like I told Justin off air, the biggest thing is that this mayor, let me say his name.
John Cooper.
Thank you. John Cooper, the biggest thing he said is like, we don't want the stadium because we don't want taxpayers to pay this. He wants this to be 100% privately funded without the use of tax dollars to build it. But there's also talks that what John Cooper really wants is I think it's the remodel. They want to remodel the the NASCAR stadium at the fairgrounds. That's because
there's a NASCAR track that is on the fairgrounds, which is one of the older tracks that used to be ran in NASCAR. They want to bring a race back to there, and it's a short track, which is something NASCAR has not had in a while. And I am a NASCAR fan. I grew up down the road from a NASCAR track back home in Delaware, so yes, I am a little country. But I get it. Also have to understand, NASCAR is a dying sport. The sponsorship money is not there anymore. The fan base isn't there anymore. Soccer is taking that spot, as much as people don't want to admit that, outside of our soccer world. So,
but there is good news. Apparently, I'm seeing there's an article that was released two days ago. It says that in an effort to move along the building of Nashville's stadium in the fairgrounds, a Metro City Council member on Friday proposed legislation to begin demolition without the mayor's signature.
Jorge said, "Do not remove my NASCAR stadiums."
Wow.
Hey, I will say though, being a NASCAR fan, race weekend is the best party I've ever been to when it comes around to sport. It is nothing but drinking for 4 days.
Wow. That's a lot.
So yeah, and it's cool. You go walk around the RV lots, and it's just people are just handing you alcohol. Like, it's just one big party for 3 to 4 nights.
So Jorge says Dale Jr. retired. I left. Don't worry, man. When Carl Edwards retired as well, like, and then Jimmy Johnson started winning, and now it's Kyle Busch doing all the winning. I'm like, I'm out.
But that is it from that. What was the other thing?
Frisco.
Is there anything else?
Frisco.
Yes, thank you. Well, 2 things now. Also, Inter Miami is getting sued by Inter Milan for the use of the word Inter. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, why didn't they do that with Inter de Porto Alegre?
My thing is how many Uniteds are there? I mean, hell, is Inter Milan going to go after NYCFC for having a logo that is, or a crest that is,
I think it's backwards.
Similar?
I think it's backwards. Yeah, but I think a lot of the comments that I'm seeing from that news, a lot of them are saying, well, the fact is that because of the whole David Beckham ownership, they feel threatened that that Inter Miami's, brand awareness is going to outshine, it's going to be a bigger impact in the global world. That's a redundancy. On a global scale than compared to Inter de Porto Alegre or all the other Inters that are in the soccer world. So they feel because they put the lawsuit saying that people were going to confuse Inter Miami or Inter Milan with Inter Miami, and that was going to affect their revenue.
I think that is one of the dumbest lawsuits I've ever heard in my life. It really is. Like, is it worth it? Would you ever see a Manchester United going after any other team with the name United? No, because like 45% of the teams in England have United tied to their name. Get over it, Inter. Move on.
Yes. They say Inter Milan is suing MLS for trademark infringement, claiming that the term Inter is synonymous with its club and no one else.
No, sorry, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But the last thing, our friends up north, South Oklahoma, Frisco FC, I guess they call themselves Dallas, even though they don't play anywhere close to Dallas. They put together a season ticket package highlighting their opponents, their Mexican national team opponents playing in MLS. You heard that, guys. So they're having an advertisement for Chicharito, Carlos Vela. Who's the other one? Guy from KC.
Alan Pulido.
Yeah, Pulido. They're advertising that as the Mexican national team.
The Mexican Superstars.
Yeah, Superstars package. How dumb are you? Like, are you trying to be a meme? Are you trying to be MLS's meme? Because you're going to get there. I mean,
I don't know, man, because the Dynamo do the same thing when Zlatan came, when Wayne Rooney came. They didn't offer a package, but the marketing was focused on Zlatan and focused on Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, but like you said, you're not selling a package on it. Like, it's different. Yeah, you're selling one game, which from a marketing standpoint, it's smart. But when you're doing a season ticket package for those games, you're an idiot. And I think this is why everybody here in Houston hates Dallas, because they're idiots. I really don't care if anybody in Dallas listens to us or not. It's Dallas. I grew up hating Dallas. So, but, well, yeah, everybody does it, but single games. Like, you're not selling a whole package for Mexican national team players, you know? So, I don't know.
Let Frisco be Frisco. Honestly,
Yeah.
at this point, if they want to make a fool out of themselves, I mean, you've had Josie Altidore and Parkhurst calling them out already on Twitter, so let them be a dumpster fire. And I love the comments from Frisco fans on there. They're like, yeah, it's well deserved. The burns. They say they're well deserved with the fact that the Hunts are not investing into the team in their own star, and that's why the fans, they're desperate to bring in fans into the stadium. Hey, why does that sound familiar?
To be fair, do they really care at this point? The Hunts won a Super Bowl.
True.
Just saying.
True.
Pretty sure FC Dallas is an afterthought.
But Frisco loves to adore Lamar Hunt. They have a statue of Lamar Hunt at their stadium. Like, seriously?
To be fair,
you're idolizing your owner. Like, they put him in. They have the thing in their in their uniforms. Like, what?
To be fair, okay.
It's like we put one for Gabriel Brenner.
Lamar Hunt did do a ton of stuff for football, for soccer, for a lot of different sports in this country. So I can't hate on the Lamar Hunt homage because it's well deserved. It is well deserved. But the Hunts don't care about Frisco. Neither does anybody else in MLS.
Not even people from Frisco care about Frisco.
Oh, yeah, they won the Shield.
Whoop-de-doo.
I could go buy that same plate at Crate and Barrel and put MLS's logo on it, okay?
Wow. And at the end of the day, what matters is the MLS Cup, which we have two.
Yeah, Dallas has none.
I know it sucks that we have to go back to history to go through it to make ourselves feel better than Frisco, but it's true. At the end, we still have two MLS Cups. They have zero, which is what matters more. Nobody remembers. To be honest, nobody remembers who won the Supporter Shield. Like, everybody cares. More people care about who won the MLS Cup, because at the end, that's what it matters.
I said burn. Well, guys, I do think that's going to do it for us. Please, please, please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the PO05. You can find our podcast on Stitcher,
Google Podcasts.
There you go. Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple, SoundCloud,
Spotify,
as well. You can also check out Edson's Down the Valley podcast on all the same places, including the BGN network. What else? We do also. Yes, I'm getting there. I got it. I need to write this down so I have a read for every show. We also do have tips available down below in the description for the podcast and the video. The tips go and help us with ads and stuff like that to help grow our podcast as well. It will help us long term on getting merchandise to give to you guys too. Today's podcast was also brought to you by Matt Flora Photography as well. When we are able to get out there to practice, he provides the photos for us. And I think he's going to provide some game pictures as well. I wouldn't mind talking to him actually to see if he has stuff for sale for the Dynamo. That's going to do it for us.
Don't forget,
we'll have a show next week.
And don't forget, we do have a Down in the Valley show this Wednesday at 7 p.m.
And I will make sure to set a reminder to edit that podcast Thursday night.
Yes, which I do have to. I do have to forward you something right now from BGN about it. No, it's just a change to how they're going to be doing the process. But I'll tell you right now off air.
Okay. But that's gonna do it for me, myself. I'm Justin.
I'm Edson, And also on behalf of Josh, who couldn't make it today.
Yes.
We want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I know it's a Monday, so a lot of you still have Monday blues. I still have it. But thank you all for tuning in as well. Be sure to share this link, the YouTube video archive. Share it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Reddit, on Tinder. I don't care. Just share it. Just share the link.
He really went the Tinder out.
And help us out in that regard. And of course, like I said, we'll next week we should have a show as well, and we hope to see you then.
Yep. But for us, this is the Peel. Forever Orange.
Forever Orange.
We're out of here.